Oxford from the inside. The good, the bad, but always the truth.
Hey guys, I'm Siam. Welcome to another episode of Oxford from the Inside, the good, the bad, but always the truth. Today we're joined by Jacob and Amit. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
My name is Jacob. I've just finished my second year of maths at Trinity College, Oxford.
Hello, my name is Amit. I just finished my degree actually at Cambridge doing maths in Clare College. Um, if my grandma is watching, just want to say hi.
Nice, nice. We love to hear it. So today we're going to be talking about differences between studying maths at Oxford and Cambridge for those prospective students who are going through that struggle of deciding whether they should study maths at Oxford and Cambridge, which I imagine a lot of students go through. So for the listeners, can you describe what your degree is like? We'll start with Jacob.
Yeah, so I'm absolutely in love with the degree so far. It's been a really challenging but rewarding 2 years. So the degree, you cover all areas of pure and applied maths, as well as bits of physics, computer science, and statistics. There's a lot of flexibility to choose what you want to do, and it's really the degree is for you to make your own path in mathematics.
And Amit?
Much of the same, really. I've also really enjoyed it. There were obviously times when it was very difficult, but overall it's been very rewarding. Loads of really interesting maths. I learned the other day why about the color of the sky, why it's blue. So that was cool. But yeah, also I mean loads of from pure maths to applied maths, physics, statistics, some computer science as well. You can just learn loads and loads and loads. So it's a lot of fun for sure.
Nice, nice. So can you guys summarize what the main differences are then in studying maths at Oxford or Cambridge?
Yes.
Quick
Yes.
summary before we go into the details of each difference.
Yeah, so I think kind of broadly speaking, the universities will offer slightly different module choices. I think in terms of like the actual degree titles, they do differ slightly. There's differences in admission and as well as just the general feel of the whole university, so the city and the department.
Yeah, I would agree. There's going to be subtle differences in the modules that they'll offer as well. But yes, with Cambridge, it's sort of just a math degree on its own. There's nothing else. But with Oxford, you have, I guess, various different titles for it.
So okay, so there's two interesting things like from that. So I think one of the things that us three discovered is that the content of both of the degrees at Oxford or Cambridge are extremely similar. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, you can do pretty much the same things generally, and the level at which it is taught is going to be about the same.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So the modules very, very similar. You might just do content in a slightly different order onto varying levels of into various different perspectives. But I think certainly for the first 2 years, because you're mostly covering core maths, the degrees are very, very similar. You probably might get some variety in third and fourth year when you get more specialized.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that Amit was mentioning that is it seems that Oxford has more different types of degrees involving with maths. So Jacob, do you want to run us through the different courses that Oxford offers, and then we can see what courses that Cambridge offer?
Yeah, okay. So there is, of course, just straight mathematics, but there is a bunch of joint degrees as well. So you can apply to do maths and computer science, maths and stats, maths and philosophy, or straight maths. And so maths and stats and straight maths have the same first year. And so there is some flexibility to swap between those two at the end of second year, but typically people don't and they just stay on the one they've applied to. And then maths and computer science, joint degree with computer science, which is, I think, cool. And then maths and philosophy, which more interestingly is half maths, half philosophy. You can also do a joint math phys, so you can do 3 years of maths, and then like a fourth year, if you do kind of so many physics modules, you get a joint maths and physics degree. The fourth year is also kind of flexible as to what you do as well. But a lot of these degree titles are kind of vague, and it just boils down to doing a certain percentage modules that come under the maths department, a certain percentage modules that come under the stats department, etc., etc.
Nice. And Amit, what is it? How is it like in Cambridge?
So it's less flexible in Cambridge in one regard, I would say. In your first year, you have the choice but only in your first year, of doing either straight maths or maths with physics, in which option you do 25% of the natural sciences physics course, and excuse me, and 75% maths. And the final option is computer science with maths, when you do 50% computer science and 50% maths. However, after the first year, you have to choose whether you want to stick with maths, at which point it's just the one maths course, or you want to switch to natural sciences or to computer science. So yeah, you only, and then for second and third year, you just do maths, that's it. And you have the fourth year as well. And for fourth year, there's just so many options, so many courses in fourth year. You can do, from pure maths, you can do algebra, analysis, whatever. You can do geometry, all the way through physics, quantum physics, general relativity, solid state physics, loads of things.
Yeah, so sorry, I just wanted to make it clear that maths and stats start the same, and there is some flexibility to swap between. But just to be super clear, that maths and computer science and maths and philosophy tend to be you sign on and you finish them. It's very difficult to swap between them, although it is technically possible. I haven't heard of anyone doing it.
So it's difficult to switch from a straight maths to then a maths and comms key or maths and philosophy. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, kind of both ways around, really. Like certainly maths and philosophy, because you do philosophy in first year, you do half philosophy, and maths and computer science, I haven't really heard anyone swapping, although the first years are very, very similar.
Mm-hmm. So like,
just to say,
yeah, go on. No, you first.
Just to say about the maths and physics option at Cambridge, if you're sort of on the fence between maths and physics, you like both disciplines, then if you like theoretical physics more, then do maths, because there's lots of theoretical physics in maths. But if you like experiments and sort of doing things with your hands, then go for the maths and physics, or even natural sciences.
So one thing I realized that you said is that, so in Cambridge, can you do maths in the first year and then go into the natural sciences course or
well, although
course?
Officially it's not recognized as a sort of path, but you can make the switch. It's not unheard of. It's not common, but it's possible still. Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah.
But I should say that the other way from natural sciences to maths typically is more difficult than maths to natural sciences.
I remember. So I remember in Jacob, like next year, in your third year, you're going to be doing a thesis, if I remember correctly, or potentially.
Yeah.
Do you in Cambridge do you have like thesis options during your maths course? Is that a thing that exists?
Yeah. So well, in your fourth year in the master's course, you have to. Most people opt in to do an essay, which is just a literature review, essentially. But in your undergrad degree, you don't have an essay as such. You have coursework, which is, we call it computer-assisted mathematics, and you use programming to model some problem, and then you write about it.
Yeah. So Oxford is kind of similar to that. So in the third year, the it's not necessarily a thesis. There are optional non-examinable modules. So most people will just do all exams in third year, but you have the choice of doing an extended essay, which is just like like a literature review where you just read about an area of maths and kind of write your own thoughts. But you're not expected to produce research. Or you could do what I'm doing, which is a structured project, where the department kind of gives you a brief about something, and it's generally applied maths, and it's like a mini research project in applied maths with a starting point. There's like various ones from looking at like how magma moves, like electromagnetic waves. Generally, it's about mathematical modeling, and you use MATLAB. And then in the fourth year, there is kind of more scope to do a dissertation, and that tends to be a lot more independent. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. Sounds like we're going into like some like really subtle differences between the courses that you wouldn't have found out unless you like speaking to people from the unis. So I feel like we've talked about differences in modules offered. So are there any differences in teaching between the two universities? Jacob, go on, you go first.
Yeah, so we were chatting beforehand and we kind of found subtle differences. So the way teaching works at Oxford is generally the kind of first 2 years are you're learning core stuff. So you typically have kind of so many lectures a week. So in first year you have 10 a week, and in second year it's kind of 8 to 10 depending on the modules that you take. And you'll have in first year you get one problem sheet for every 2 lectures, and in second year it's one problem sheet for every 4 lectures. And then you'll have a tutorial, which is a class, typically a small number of students, maybe like 2 to 3 students to 1 tutor, who will have marked your problem sheet, and you will talk about the solutions in good detail. But then this kind of changes in third and fourth year as the options get more specialized. Tutorials don't happen in third and fourth year. You move to classes, which are run in the maths department, and a class is the exact same thing as a tutorial. Someone marks your work and you go through it, but the size is bigger now. So it depends on the module and demand for it. But I'd probably say it's on the order of like 10 students, 10, 15 students. Whereas first 2 years, the tutorials are in college, small number of students, 2, 3. Third and fourth year, it's departmental classes because the option choices are more specialized. How is that in Cambridge?
Yeah, so subtle differences there to Cambridge. Firstly, we have our problem sheets are typically longer. You said 1 every 4 lectures in second year. For us, it's 1 in every 6 lectures for in all 3 years, pretty much. So they are longer. Maybe each one takes around 10 to 15 hours to complete, I would say. And so you have 4 example sheets typically per course. Now, another difference is that we call them supervisions in Cambridge, same thing as tutorials, 2-on-1 teaching. We have them all the way through first to third year. But in fourth year, we also make the transition to example classes where we have 15 students in a classroom and the teacher just, well, I guess the whatever you call them, they they go through the answers on the board.
Nice. No, it is useful to know how in Oxford, in third year, the classes become like the group exercises are like 10 to 15 students, but in Cambridge, you still have that 1 academic to 2 to 3 people. And there's benefits to both, groups of 15, it's a lot more social, a lot more people to ask questions with. But then you get more personalized teaching, I imagine, when it's 1 to 2 to 3 teaching. So quick question is, how difficult is it to do a 4th year in Oxford or Cambridge? Like, does everyone do a 4th year, or do you have to get certain grades to be accepted to do a master's, etc.?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start at Oxford. So at Oxford, the 4th year is very flexible. So whilst on UCAS, you pick like if you're doing just 3 years or 4 years, in reality, that's almost an arbitrary choice, because you don't actually have to confirm until the end of your 3rd year, basically, whether you're going to do a 4th year or not. There are some rules about whether you're allowed to do a 4th year. I think you have to get a certain percentage. I think it's somewhere between a 2 on the first, though I couldn't give you the exact number. I would say the rules are like, there are official rules that are set in stone, but a lot of the time it's, they can be a bit lenient. I'd say if you want to do a 4th year and you're a good mathematician, so you kind of get a 2-1, you would probably most likely be allowed to do the 4th year. And in terms of Cambridge, how is that?
Yeah, so you only apply when you apply through UCAS, you only apply for the bachelor's degree for the first 3 years. And if you do want to do a 4th year after that, you do have to make that intention clear after you finish your BA. Now, the official requirement is to get a first in your 3rd year, and that gives you automatic entry into part 3, we call it, which is 4th year. But if you do get, but now, yes, if you do get a 2-1 or a high 2-1, I would say, this is not official guidance or anything, but I would say that in most cases you will be allowed entry if you show enough enthusiasm, and if you have a high score, maybe 65 plus or something. Although that's not an exact figure in any way at all. But yeah.
Nice. No, that's good. That's interesting to know. So I guess like we've gone through like a lot of like subtle differences between the 2 unis, but now in terms of their like big differences in doing maths at Oxford or Cambridge, can you just discuss the differences in admissions to actually the process of getting an offer to study maths at Oxford or Cambridge? If you want to go first, Jacob.
Yeah, so perhaps I'll just briefly outline the process. So for Oxford and Cambridge, you can only apply to one through UCAS. And you apply just like to any other university with like your personal statement and UCAS form on UCAS. But you have to apply slightly earlier for Oxford and Cambridge. I think it's sometime in October. And then for Oxford, the entrance exam that you need to sit is called the MAT. And you'll sit that in sometime in November. You sit the MAT for both maths and like the joint courses, so maths and stats, maths and comp scheme, maths and philosophy. They're the questions that you do, like there are different kind of sections of the test are slightly different. And then you have interviews sometimes in December and offers in January. So perhaps just to kind of elaborate on the MAT, because I think this is different from Cambridge. The MAT's an entrance exam that is based really on first year A-level content. Although I must admit, it's quite a hard paper, to be honest, given if you haven't solved anything of this type. I think it's quite different from what you're used to. But it's kind of based really on first year content, but often it's in new situations that you haven't seen before. And I think the questions, like looking back at them, they're really quite clever because they hint to these bigger mathematical ideas that you might cover at university using only A-level maths. Yeah, so that test is sometime in kind of November, and it is quite difficult if you haven't seen that before. And then in terms of interviews, you actually go down to Oxford. I stayed for 4 days, and you stay in one of the Oxford colleges that you apply to, and I had 4 interviews, but you'll have at least 2, I think. So you normally have some interviews at your college and some interviews at a second college. And an important thing to note is that the interview kind of process is slightly different between colleges. So some of the more, the bigger colleges might ask you to sit an exam. Some colleges might ask you to do kind of a problem sheet beforehand. Some of them will just give you a straight interview. But if you're doing a joint degree, so maths and comp scheme, maths and stats, you'll have interviews both in straight maths and in your joint subject. So philosophy interview, a computer science interview, or a more statistical interview.
Nice. And also like quick, like I think Imperial College also uses the MAT admissions test. Is that right, Amit? I think you did that.
Yeah, I applied to Imperial as well, and so I did have to take the MAT too. They do require it as part of their application process. Yeah.
So I guess like if you applied for Oxford, when you do the MAT, it can count for like you're doing two lots of applications in one exam. Which
There are quite a few universities that take it. I think Durham and Warwick maybe might not take it. I think Durham also looks at the TMUA. It changes over time, so just check which universities do take it.
The TMUA is a different entrance exam, just for anyone who didn't know. So Amit, do you want to give us a rundown the infamous admissions process for Cambridge Maths?
For Cambridge Maths. Okay, well, I guess the big difference is that, well, both have an admissions test, but with Oxford, you do it before your offer, so that once you get your offer, you've got it in the bag, and you've got to do your A levels now, and then you can get in. But with Cambridge, you have the admissions test step after in June with your A levels. So, well, I guess the advantage is that you have more time to prepare for that one. But yes, STEP is firstly much bigger sort of specification than the MAT. When the MAT is just first year A-level content, with STEP it's, well, mechanics and statistics as well, but also second year A-level content for step 3. That's further maths for step 3, but also normal maths for step 2. So yes, basically more maths that you need to know, but the essential basis of it is the same as the math, that you need to be good at problem solving, and when you encounter a new situation, you need to be able to deal with it well.
So going straight to your opinion, because you did the maths and STEP, how did you find, what were the differences between the two?
I mean, this is just my opinion, but I did prefer doing STEP to the math. I felt like there was more choice with STEP, and I wanted to give myself the extra bit of time, 6 months to prepare for STEP. And the math I felt was it was quite difficult, a bit more difficult than STEP, to be honest.
That's interesting. I've heard almost the exact opposite from a lot of people.
Yeah, most people say the opposite to me. Yeah.
So we've heard your opinion, but I've heard a lot of people say that STEP's really challenging, like extremely challenging. And why is that the case? Like, why is it so? Because I've also heard that Cambridge actually over offer. This isn't official information, so I don't know.
No, that's right. I mean, you can look at it on the stats. They publish all the stats, the application stats. But yes, they typically give out about 500 offers roughly for maths, and they only 250 people get in eventually, because STEP just
lots of people don't meet their STEP grade requirements.
Yeah.
They just don't. They get the offer, but they don't do well enough in STEP.
Exactly. I mean, I shouldn't understate this. STEP is very difficult. I started preparing for STEP, I think just a year before the exam, so June the year before, and it does take a lot of preparation for sure.
No, it's interesting, for sure. I guess one of the benefits of doing the math is you don't have to juggle your A levels and your STEP exam revision. But I
would kind of say, like, in terms of preparation timeline for any exam, the earlier the better. I guess if you're thinking of applying to Oxford right now, this period in lockdown is such a great period to be preparing for these exams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And the summer.
Which we're in right now, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess.
Amit, one of the things you mentioned about STEP is that some of the content was based on further maths. Do you need to do further maths to study maths at Cambridge?
No, that's not. No, you don't. As far as I'm aware. But when I applied, you just needed. Well, it was advisable to do further maths as well, and I would advise it to anyone who's thinking of applying to Cambridge to take further maths, although it's not a strict requirement. If your school doesn't offer it, then of course, you know, it's fine. It's completely fine to just do single math. That's fine.
So
Um,
you're gone.
and if you don't do further maths, then your typical step offer is 1-1 in step 2 and step 3, and which are the exams. So you have, and if you do only single math, then they'll give you an offer for just step 1 and step 2, which do not require any further maths content.
So I'm actually on the Cambridge website now, and it says for entry requirements for maths. Also, off topic, the maths department in Cambridge looks insane. So if you're really
The Oxford one looks pretty good too.
no, you just Google images, both of them, and the Cambridge one looks like a space station. So if you're really 50-50 and you're an aesthetic, you have an aesthetic taste, check the maths department out on Google Images. But
there's the library in the maths department. It has booths in the basement, so you can, if you're staying up late in the library, you can just sneak in there and sleep without anyone noticing. Although I don't recommend it.
Obviously, that's not from experience. Obviously.
No.
So so it says course requirements for maths. All colleges require A-level mathematics and A-level further maths.
Right.
And,
So then,
and that's, some colleges require A-level physics. There's more information. Having said that, if your college doesn't offer further maths, I think you'd be able to write that like in your teacher's reference when you're applying. Like if you're like a prodigy in maths, but your college doesn't offer further maths, but you could easily do it, then like don't let that not let you apply. Definitely.
Yeah. So maybe I'll just say for Oxford that straight maths is a hard requirement to do the degree, and it says that further maths is optional. Although I put optionals in inverted commas. If your college or sixth form offers further maths, you really kind of should be taking it. It's only really optional if your school hadn't done further maths, or perhaps in the rare circumstance where you didn't pick it and you really, really want to do maths. If you can, just to kind of perhaps emphasize this, if you look at the admission statistics, very few people do get admitted who haven't done further maths. I'd say less than 5, 10, less than 5 certainly. I think my year it was 2. And typically they would be invited to Oxford for a summer school before the term starts in October to go over a lot of the content, because a lot of the content from maths and further maths is assumed, and you'll just go straight into work straight away.
Definitely. 2 people, that's insane. That doesn't mean you can't be one of those 2 or 5 people if your college doesn't offer it.
Absolutely. If your college doesn't offer it, that's definitely a conversation you need to be having with your school or college to kind of see what support they could offer you. It's definitely possible to apply having not done further maths, but you perhaps might need to have a more nuanced conversation with a member of staff about that.
But going a bit off topic, even if your college doesn't offer it, so our college didn't offer triple maths, which exists. I don't know if it exists now, but Amit, you went out of your own way to learn the third A level. So if anyone if your college doesn't offer double maths, we have people here and we know people that have taught themselves a maths A level, and there's enough. You can buy the textbooks, sign up for the exams, and do that. So how did you find teaching yourself another maths A level, your third maths A level, Amit?
I mean, If you're really, I was really motivated. So if you're motivated to do anything, then it's not a problem. If you really enjoy it, then it's really easy. I mean, it's the truth. If you like doing something, then it's easy, isn't it? But yeah, I'd say it wasn't too bad because the books are quite good, and once you get practice with the problems, then it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Just
hey, go on.
just to say about triple maths, it doesn't actually provide a very big advantage at all. So you know, not many people do it anyway. I'm just a big nerd, so I did it.
I mean, it's good for the personal statement. Like, if you really, it shows clearly that you really enjoy maths. Having said that, though, I'm not sure if triple maths exists anymore because the maths A levels have changed since we were
That's
we
right.
were doing them.
I'm an old man. I forget these
Yeah.
things. It has been cancelled. Yeah.
The dinosaurs now, everything's changed. It looks
Yeah.
much worse, in my opinion. I don't know what they've done to the education system. That's for another podcast.
I'll join you. Yeah.
We should definitely. Oh, I don't know how controversial that would be. Podcast about the British education system.
I don't know. There's a lot to say. We need a whole series for that.
we could make a podcast about that. Get enough support. Anyways, we should moving on.
Yeah.
I think on that bombshell, that's all we have time for today. We learned some really interesting stuff. Thank you so much for both of you for sharing your experiences. And yeah, thank you for the listeners for listening in. Make sure you follow us on YouTube and our Instagram account, IGTV at Oxford from the Inside, and check out our Facebook. And we're on Spotify as well if you prefer to listen to these podcasts rather than see our faces. Wouldn't blame you. Especially when Amit's on the call as well. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. Yeah, thanks for watching and thanks for joining the interview, guys.
Great. Thanks so much for having us. See you soon.
See you guys later.